Senior Expert and Energy Management Systems Lead Auditor in Azerbaijan Standardization Institution. I am thrilled to welcome Mr. David Bell, the Director of Standards Policy at British Standards Institution, whose insights and expertise in this field is invaluable. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Gara.
Okay, I want to give brief information about our session today. Our aim is today to explore evaluation, implementation talents, and financial impacts of the standardization and energy efficient standards in this field. And today we will not provide only information about milestones of the energy efficient standards. Also, we will provide practical approach to this field and to address main problems in this field. So before we start, I want to say that what's your insights in this field about how the energy efficient standards evolved over the years and how this evolution impacts the energy efficient standards?
Well, firstly, thank you, Gara, and thank you for the invitation to speak, and congratulations on the event, and congratulations for the Azerbaijan Standards Institute to sponsor the Standards Pavilion, which has really been the home of the discussion on the role of standards to support climate action here at the COP meeting. Energy efficiency is at the heart of delivering net zero, absolutely essential to delivering on our goals. In a sense, it's a no regrets policy because it means we can continue to develop the products and services we've always developed, but use less energy. But let's not confuse the issue. Energy efficiency is not new, and energy efficiency is not only related to net zero. I think you can go right back to the energy crisis of the 1970s and 1980s, and you'll see a real interest in initiatives to improve energy efficiency. The IEC, for example, the International Electrotechnical Commission, its standards are essentially all based on the importance of energy efficient products. And we estimate that as much as 50% of the costs of the energy of electrical products has been saved by using those standards. And of course, there are labeling schemes alongside that as well. So consumers can choose those electrical products that are most energy efficient. And of course, consumers will help to drive the demand and improve the take-up of them. In the UK, we've had a range of mandatory standards, so government requirements and industry voluntary standards in place. And I could take you through a few of those in our conversation. Certainly, when it comes to domestic energy efficiency, we have a number of schemes. Obviously, all new homes have to meet minimum energy efficiency requirements. But of course, most homes are not new. And so we have minimum energy efficiency standards for existing homes where homeowners can apply for grants to improve the efficiency of their boilers, for example, and improve their general energy efficiency of their homes. We also have something called the ECO, the Energy Company Obligation. So energy companies are required to provide energy saving measures and energy saving products to their customers. This is a mandatory requirement. And then, of course, in our world, we have some fantastic standards. In Azerbaijan and in the UK, we've both implemented ISO 14001, which is the Environmental Management System Standard, and ISO 50001, Energy Management System Standards. Those two standards deliver energy efficiency. Make no mistake about it, but they only do it if it's in the hands of industry to use it. A standard that sits in the shelf or in a library is useless. We need to get them out and get them used by industry. Now in the UK, just one final point on this from the UK, on it, because you asked about measures that we've taken. For ISO 50001 on energy management, the UK government sponsored access to the standard, so we were able to make it free of charge to small and medium enterprises. So encouraging those small companies that are really getting a hit with high energy costs and also have aspirations to reduce their climate impacts, it gives them the tool free of charge to be able to implement and to make the changes they need to be more energy efficient.
That's great. Thank you very much for explained, detailed explanation. As you mentioned that standards in the shelf are useless. So as we know that the implementation is the backbone of every procedure. So I'd like to know in your experience what kind of talents you have observed during the implementation of the energy efficiency standards and what practices and strategies can enhance convenience and effectiveness of these standards. in the different areas, such as high costs and technical logistications limitations exist?
Well, let's be clear, for businesses today, they face the challenge of climate action, they face the challenge of remaining profitable, they face the challenge of keeping the costs down for their consumers. So for businesses now, they face this perfect storm of challenges. What we are able to demonstrate, though, is by implementing the standards, actually, we can help them to meet their goals. We can help them to save money. And I think the arguments are very powerful. We've got some real world data now, because so many organizations have adopted the standards. We have some real world data that shows, for a very relatively small investment of time, to understand the standard, to make the changes to your management systems, and to really make those fundamental changes to the way your business operates, companies can make significant savings. Not only savings, but also reducing their greenhouse gas emissions. So there are a lot of opportunities there for improvements. The UK government has schemes to help companies to be more energy efficient. So things like the enhanced capital allowance, which allows them to write off the cost against their profits for all energy efficiency measures that they take. So these are real financial incentives to make the changes that we want to see.
Yeah, thank you very much for real examples. And I'd like to know, how do you see energy efficiency standards can contribute cost savings for both for consumers and businesses, and what best practices would you like to recommend to maximize the financial benefits through the effective implementation?
Well, firstly, let's remind everybody that we don't stand alone as standards organizations. We are also working as part of our national quality infrastructure, so operationalizing the standards through certification, conformity assessment, and the accreditation system, working with our partners in metrology as well. These are institutions in both of our countries that help to drive the use of these important standards. I think that's the first thing to note. But also we've got some figures from the UK government, savings of 39% through energy efficiency improvements on non-domestic buildings since 2014. So that's a significant number already, and if you quantify that in the UK, that's £3.7 billion, so about $4.5 billion US dollars of savings that are made by using these standards. So that's a really important, to get that message out there. But also, there's wider system benefits. It's not just that the companies are saving money and reducing their greenhouse gas emissions, but also they are working to make the load that's required on the energy infrastructure more consistent, more reliable, and so we don't have these peaks and troughs, and we don't have to build extra capacity into the system because energy is used more efficiently. I have some examples here from UK companies, some global firms who have adopted ISO 50001. So in the UK, Coca-Cola, Bentley Motors, Nationwide Utilities are all certified now to ISO 50001. And I know from Hilton, the hotels chain, worldwide, they've seen savings of 20.6% on their energy intensity. That's a significant saving for a major organization, and that includes 30% in a reduction in its carbon intensity. So you're seeing cost savings, you're seeing energy savings, and of course, crucially, you're seeing savings in their emissions as well.
Yeah, you are totally right that nowadays, more than a cost saving, more than a money, we have resource problems in the many countries. Even we have enough money to buy resource, we will not able to produce resource anymore.
Yes.
If we don't take the proper measures in this field. Thank you very much for your detailed and valuable informations. Right now, I want to open the floor for the Q&A sessions. If our audience have any questions, they can ask it so directly. Please.
Good morning. Javier from the Association of Energy Engineers. Which standard do you use for the measure of the savings? Because in the Association of Energy Engineers, we use the International Measurement and Verification Protocol, for example, to measure the savings of an energy project. But in the standards, which are the ones that you prefer for measure the savings?
Thank you for the question, Javier. I mean, I think it's really critical that what we try and use, I don't have the answer, I'll be honest, but I think what really counts is that we use credible international benchmarks for these savings, because for these measurements, because what we want to have is a system that is comparable around the world, because we need to be able to demonstrate that for a global standard, we are calculating in the same way those impacts. I'll check with my colleagues to see if that's the measurement metric that we use. There are, of course, some ISO standards in this area that can help as well. And of course, we appreciate and understand that it's very difficult to isolate the savings that are made by using the standard compared with other measures that they've taken outside of the standard. So we recognize that we are just part of the solution. We're not the panacea to all of the problems. We require other measures alongside it, but certainly producing impact measurements that are quantifiable and that they are comparable to other countries is absolutely critical, because I'm sure that in Azerbaijan you want to be able to demonstrate in the same way the savings that they have in the US or they have in Australia or the UK or wherever, and use the same benchmark. If it's not already the benchmark that you use, I'll find out why it isn't, because it sounds like that's the one we should use. Please.
Yeah.
In Europe, for example, we have the Energy Efficiency Directive, and there is an obligation to reduce the consumption annually in the European countries, starting 1.5% every year, and now it's increasing because of the new Green Deal. And one tool to reduce is the white certificates of energy savings, and you have to measure. And in Europe, it's referenced this international protocol, for example, from the first Energy Efficiency Directive in 2012.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And of course, there's a number of standardization activities in Europe in CEN and CENELEC to support the new Green Deal as well. That's a fantastic example of a government intervention or a public intervention to support a policy objective where the standards can play a really important role to deliver improvements. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to add some information to this, because in Azerbaijan in the last few years we started to apply energy efficiency standards and another environmental standards in this direction, and it's already our government policy to work on this direction. That's why we take special measures to understand how it's important and necessary for every country and the people in the world totally. Yes.
I think the critical issue is that we connect together these initiatives, that we don't just use the standards. They're one tool in the toolbox. We need government support, we need mandatory measures, we need the independent verification, and we need the standards alongside that. And working together, particularly if they're international standards, that gives that international benchmark, but also it improves the confidence in the supply chain, because frankly, it's a requirement not only on the work that we do ourselves, but also on our suppliers, and using this common benchmark or common standard can help to deliver that.
Yeah, in some cases it's really mandatory it's really important to make it mandatory, because for start sometimes we need some power to explain to the people, to the companies, that it's really important, and there is a lot of stuff more than money in this case. Mm-hmm. Does anyone has any questions? Okay,
please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for such valuable session. I would like to know that what's the biggest challenge big companies or small companies that have been faced when applying the ISO 50000 standard? Thank you.
Well, the first challenge comes with awareness, and I think that's where we earn our money as standards organizations. Our job is to get the message out there to organizations that we have tools that can help. So getting that awareness in place is the first issue. But one of the benefits of using the standards is many companies already use, for example, ISO 9001, the quality management system standard. And because of the common approach to management system standards that ISO takes, they find using the energy management system and combining that with their quality management system a quite easy step in order to improve the performance, not just of the quality of their products, but also their energy. So being able to combine these is really important. Of course, if you're a small company, that challenge is higher. You've already got these multitude of issues that you have to face as an organization. And so being able to get assistance with implementation, getting assistance with the certification process, because often if for SMEs in particular, you want to be certified because you want to demonstrate to your customers that you use these standards. So getting assistance from accredited certification bodies is always helpful in that situation. But we found that the first issue is to make people aware. And I'm sorry to say that there are many, many more companies out there that are not using the standards and are not getting the benefits than use them, which is where I think we are frankly culpable. We need to get out there and get the message out there about the standards.
Thank you.
I'll get back my microphone. Does we have any questions? Okay, it seems everything is crystal clear here. So, Mr. Bell, thank you very much for your insights and valuable information. And if anyone has other questions, you can discuss with Mr. Bell after the panel. Thank you very much for coming today.
Gara, thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Gara.
Thank you.
Cheers.